Okay, everyone, let me give you an idea about what you're looking at here. First of all, this is a skull, and you don't have to worry, it's not a real one. This is the front, of course, because there's the eyeballs and there's the jaw. And then this is going to be the posterior part of the skull called your occiput. Now, if I take the top of this skull off, okay, then you'll actually be able to see inside, and your brain would sit in here. Okay. So right down here in this big giant hole, that's called your foramen magnum, a big hole, and then that's where your spinal cord goes down. And then what you can see here, I'll show you different angles. You got this hole right there. You see that hole here and then that hole here? That's called your jugular foramen. Okay. Foramen just means opening. And that's important because coming down in here is where your vagus nerve is going to exit. And it also comes out of there with another nerve called your glossopharyngeal nerve and your spinal accessory nerve. So cranial nerves 9, 10, and 11. And then your jugular vein drops down here too. And then that's really, really important because that's where a lot of lymphatics drain. All right. And if I look at it from the side, this is where if I put down the hole here and you see this thing come out the side there, like this coming through. So that's where it's going to drop when it comes out. And that's why we usually tell you to find the space just behind the angle of your jaw, right in front of this big bone called your mastoid process in this little pocket. That's where you can stimulate the vagus nerve. And it's also where the largest lymph node in your neck sits. So if the lymph node gets clogged or stagnated right here, well, then you can irritate all those nerves that run together right there. So super important to work your lymphatics. But what you're going to see in a moment is that when I show you how to release the back of the head to free up that vagus nerve a little bit, it's designed to open up that foramen here a little bit because the back of the head here, it gets really, really tight, really, really restricted on people. And then you can clamp off blood flow and proper function for the vagus nerve here. Because most of the motion in what's called your cervical spine or your neck should happen from the occiput and the atlas, which is the first bone in your cervical spine. Up to 50% of your ability to flex your head forward and extend it back looking up should happen there. And we want to free that up. So when I show you how to do this movement for the occiput, holy cow, it can help your vagus nerve. Check the wind box. So let's move on into that and I'll show you that move. All right, so let's go over this move that's really powerful. I teach it to everyone. I'm actually kneeling down here on the ground when I do it. And I want to show you what we're going to do. So the back of the head right here is where the majority of your motion should happen when you flex your chin forward or you extend backwards like this. But it's usually really, really locked down right here. Why? Because people round the shoulders, they hunch in the thoracic spine, the head comes forward, they lose the neck, and then they crunch down right back here. So the muscles get tight, blood flow gets restricted, you jam down here in the jugular foramen, or maybe you've had some impacts to the back of the head. So what we want to do is we want to do an occipital lift. So this is the occiput. We're actually going to lift the skull up off the spine a little bit. So you're not actually going to completely lift it off, but you're trying to open up some space, relieve some pressure in there when you do it. And you're going to use both hands when you do this move. This is one that I've learned. It's called a Mulligan technique from Brian Mulligan, who's a brilliant therapist. And it's one of my favorites. All right, here's how it goes. You're going to take your dominant hand, and your dominant hand is going to hook up underneath the back of the skull right here. All right. So it's actually going to look like this, if you can see here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to lift up and over like this, kind of like we're making the letter C. I don't want you to press forward. So it's not pressing this way horizontal to the ground. It's lifting up and over, up and over. But you can see if you do that here, I'm going to be putting a lot of pressure on the neck, and I can flex forward at the chin, so I don't have a lot of control here. So that can be quite uncomfortable, honestly. So what we want to do is create a fulcrum point, a holding point, a stabilization point in the front here at the sternum and the chin. And we're going to do that with the opposite hand, your non-dominant hand. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your non-dominant hand, and I want you to curl the outside 3 fingers down. They're going to have your thumb and your index finger. Your thumb and your index finger are going to cradle up underneath the jawline here, right? So it's basically going to look like that. Right? I don't want you to be here on the throat like you can't breathe, all right? It's not that way. It's just resting here. And the 3 fingers, the pinky is going to rest on the sternum. So here comes index, thumb underneath. This rests on the sternum. And then this will be the resting point. I'm going to take my dominant hand and I'm going to put it behind my head like this. So it's underneath, and I'm going to lift up and over. When I lift up and over, the chin will now go into my fingers, and it's less stretch on the lower cervical, and it opens up that top. So I'm going to lift up and over, and it only takes a little bit of force. I end up putting quite a bit when I do it for people, about 10 pounds of pressure, which is about the weight of your head. You're going to lift up and over, and then hold that 5 to 10 seconds, and then just slowly relax it. Do not just let go really fast. You want to have a slow lift and then a slow backing off, and then see how you feel. You'll really feel it open up in the back part of the head here, and one round might be enough. I typically tell people to do that 3 to 4 times, right? When you open that up. And then afterwards, you're already probably going to feel like you got more motion, but I want you to lock that in with a little bit of isometrics, which means it's going to look like this. So I'm going to open up and I'm going to lift and I'm going to continue to breathe and I'm going to count for my 5 to 10 seconds. I'm going to slowly relax, do that 3 to 4 times. And then you're going to do isometrics, which means you're going to put your hand towards the back of the head and then pull your chin back and then push your hand and your head together and hold for 4 seconds. Then you're going to do the same thing in the front. So the hand and the forehead come together for 4 to 5 seconds isometrics. And then you're going to go hand here, push to the right, push to the left 4 to 5 seconds, and then just get some range of motion in your neck, moving it in different directions. Now, just one round of that can be really super powerful, and you might only have to do it once. You might feel like you get a little bit lightheaded, honestly. Why? Because you're going to skyrocket blood flow up into your cranium, and you're also going to start to feel a little bit relaxed too, because you're going to take off some pressure from that jugular foramen and vagus nerve, and you might actually notice that you'll start to get some lymphatic drainage of the lymph from the face, the head, and the neck down in towards the collarbone. All right. So hopefully you found that helpful. Give it a shot if you'd like to learn a lot more about the vagus nerve. That is just one move of many that we teach you in our Vagus Nerve Mojo course that we're posting up on stopchasingpain.com. It's available to register right now. Hurry, because we only have a certain amount of slots open for it. It'll be a webcast and then it's recorded. And if you register, you get to keep it and own it for life. So go to stopchasingpain.com and click under workshops/Vagus Mojo and lock in. We'll see you there. Much love from Stop Chasing Pain, Dr. Perry, and Fredo, name of my skull. We'll see you soon.